really appreciate all you coming out today. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I'm Alex Ballete. My father is Adolfo here. So we're gonna have some people come up today and speak. And feel free if you'd like to come up also to say a few words as well. And to lead it off, we're gonna have Justin, my brother-in-law, Marianne's husband.
Hi. In part, I feel out of turn speaking today because I've known Adolfo just for a fraction of the years that most of you can claim being in relationship with him. But I have the privilege of marriage to Mariane, his daughter, and share parenting with his beloved granddaughter Malaya, and have spent many nights in sharing meals and just spending time. And I have a couple of thoughts to share. And maybe I'm just talking out loud to make sense of the kind yet complex man that I knew. The memory of Adolfo is of a man who seems in some ways larger than life. His passion, good nature, and joys were contagious. How could you not want a gin and tonic or a bowl of ice cream when they were so delicious? How could you not just listen and love to the same big band jazz that he was whistling along to? How could you not just want to book a flight and go walk the villages and beaches of his childhood memories in Cebu? He made the things that he loved magnetic. Such was the impact of his persona. He had a strong commitment to living in what some might call a rose-colored reality. The best way I can illustrate that is that towards the end of his time, one of his favorite songs towards the end was "I Did It My Way" by Frank Sinatra. Maybe that commitment to his own personal vision of life came from the era from which he sprang. He was born 2 years after Japan invaded China and just months before Germany would invade Poland. The world of his earliest youth was one of a world at war and near gravitational shifts in the reality and the world around him. His early adulthood took place again under the auspices of the Vietnam War, and his career in telecommunications was launched by the needs and opportunities of that conflict. So on reflection, it should not have been as surprising that he would have some inner toughness and grit to handle and push through conflict that would seem at odds with his generally sunny disposition and easygoing manner. He was a man of big ideas and even bigger dreams. One of his favorite catchphrases that had to do with Marianne was the fact that she was born on the same day that the Apollo 11 landed and humankind set its first foot on the moon. He, of course, said it better than that. My feeling is that in his parenting of Marianne, Alex, and Alan, he worked hard to lay what I understood as his foundational belief as their cornerstone of their worldview. Aim high, work hard, and love each moment. And if the day is good, celebrate that day with ice cream. If the day is not so good, help yourself to feel better by having some ice cream. At any rate, the stories of their childhood, road trips, and vacations are ready-made for a movie or perhaps a Netflix series. He lived a big life, not just at the outset and in his early career, but through and through with his family. And that is what I want to honor Adolfo for today. It is my heartfelt belief that the best legacy a man or woman can leave behind when their time on this earth is over is that there's a better version of themselves left behind to carry on. And Adolfo brought that into this world and helped create some of the best human beings I've ever had the privilege of knowing in Marianne, Alex, and Alan. The best praise I can give Adolfo comes in some of his own favorite words. Good job, Chief.
Thank you, Justin, for those wonderful words. Does anybody else like to speak? Okay, so next we'll have some words from my half-sister, Maribel, that my sister will be reciting.
So my Ate Maribel is a few years older than me, and I didn't get a chance to grow up with her, but I have the wonderful pleasure of being her sister and to share a dad. And we had different ways of growing up. But we have the same dad. So I'm going to read her words that she sent to me for our dad. Our dearest dad, this story of dad that I am sharing with you today may seem like it's from a novel or a television drama, but this is our life story. On August 29, 1989, 34 years ago, I found my father. I was then 24 years old that day, and that day God answered my earnest prayer for years. And as I waited for Dad in the airport on November 23, 1990, I was worried, nervous, and afraid, but at the same time, I was excited and happy. As he saw me, Dad wrapped me in his arms, and it was the most tight and warmest hug I'd ever had. It was dramatic, just like a scene from a movie, but it was the happiest moment in my life. He made me sit on his lap like a little girl and sang to me, Palita Corrales Dahil Sayo, as if it was a lullaby. It felt like a dream, and I do not want to wake up from. I wanted to share with him every happening and moment in my life, from how I grew up in the countryside with my grandparents to my journey in search of him. And just like a child, I wept and told him my stories to every detail that I could remember. I have been longing for a father, but the days I have spent with Dad have filled my heart with love and happiness more than I could ever receive in this lifetime. He made me feel that it is not the years that we have known each other, or that we have known each other, that we have spent, but how we make the most of our moments together. He gave me a family that accepted and loved me as much as he loves me. Dad told me about his stories when he was younger and how he had struggled as the eldest son of their family. He went through a lot of hardship and challenges in life just as I did. He is my inspiration and role model. He had been my guiding light and pillar of strength and hope. Every moment we have spent together was unforgettably wonderful and amazing, that every time Dad comes home from vacation, he always makes sure that every moment is worthwhile. Our late night conversations were always filled with tears and laughter. His simple words like, "Take it easy," with an assuring tap on my shoulders, always dispel my problems and worries away. It made me keep going. Dad has been on our side through my ups and downs, and I've never felt alone. The times we have spent together may be short, but your compassionate love will eternally be remembered. Words are not enough to encompass my love and gratitude. Dad's nurturing generosity and kindness has touched and it gave me hope to a lot of people. Your smile and laughter will always resonate and warm our hearts. Dad, your memories and learnings in life will inspire and guide us to be better every day. You're God's greatest gift and blessing to us. You'll be missed greatly, but we will continue to celebrate your life in all we do. Thank you, and I love you so much, Dad, until we meet again. And to my sister Marianne and brother Alex, thank you for your consideration and for making me and my family be with Dad in his last moments, as well as giving me this chance to express my gratitude and love for Dad. Thank you so much, and I love you both. And to everyone who is here today, I would like to thank you for making Dad's life fulfilled and meaningful. God bless us all.
Okay, so now I'll say a few words for my father. For some reason, I found it difficult to come up today and say a speech. Partly because I'm not normally a good public speaker. I don't like being the center of attention. That was mostly for Alan, my brother. So this kind of brought me back to my school days of trying to just cram something in and procrastinate and do something last minute. And so I was up late last night just trying to put some thoughts to my head and think hard about my father and what he meant to me. My sister, Marianne, my brother, and I had a pretty good childhood. Of course, I'm pretty biased. It's the only childhood I've ever experienced. But we were never beaten or abused. My father always put the fear of God in his with his eyes, and the way he scolded us too was very terrifying. And that usually was followed by some cursing in Tagalog. My parents never taught us Tagalog, but I know how to curse in Tagalog. So. One of my fondest memories growing up was actually going to church, and I can remember sleeping on Sunday mornings and Dad would come in and kind of nudge me awake, and I'm trying to get more sleep, and so I just kind of brush him off and go back to sleep to get more snooze time. And then my mom would come in also kind of nudge me to get me awake also as well, but still I kind of just turned to the other shoulder and go to sleep. And then finally when it was time to get up, Dad would come in and said, "Come on, get up, clap his hands and say, time to get up, you promised. God knows that when you don't go to church," or something like that. He kind of put some kind of guilt trip or something like that. And so I would get up reluctantly, get ready and go to church. And then once at church, me and my brother would sit together. This was very young, we were very young at the time, and we'd just play around and kind of keep ourselves occupied. And I'd tease them, and we'd be horsing around, and we were never quiet. And then so Dad would just look at us, put the fear of God in his eyes, and just look at us and just say, "Shh," just like he was gonna pinch us or something like that. We were really close. But so we would like calm down and straighten up, but then we would go back to our horseplay and all that stuff, and then finally he would like take both of us and then separate us aside. And so my brother would be on one side and I'd be on the other. I'd sit on the other side of my dad. And then so since I wouldn't have anybody to play with, I kind of felt like church was a little boring, so I'd fall asleep, in the sermon, and then Dad would just like kind of little nudge me with his little chicken wing arm or something. And then, so there were some times when he was the one that was just kind of dozing off too, and so I would kind of just nudge him as well. But then he would nudge back like I was the one sleeping, but so. But I was, and then right after church, we'd go out to eat, It was always a Chinese restaurant, and it was just one of my special treats one of the special treats that we had, because we hardly ever got to go out to eat, and Marianne would order the sweet and sour pork, and my brother would always want the mishu pork or something like that, and we always were asking for some soft drinks, but Mom and Dad were like, no, only water. But I guess that's why we didn't get hooked on soda and sugar all the time. So, but the reason why he liked the Chinese food restaurants was because he always took his office mates out and found every single good Chinese restaurant and kind of mapped everything out to this place, it's close to that Chinese restaurant, and he would just, everything would just be mapped out with, oh, it's around that corner, we're close to this Chinese restaurant. But he was a great man. He graduated with an electrical engineering degree in the Philippines and ended up becoming a telecommunications engineer, and worked for Contel GTE, which is now Verizon, of course. And he also worked as a civilian telecommunications specialist for the Single Corps in the U.S. Army in the Vietnam War, as Justin was mentioning earlier. Essentially, this allowed the generals to pick up the phone in Vietnam to call Washington, D.C. And some of these advancements back then paved the way for the technological advancements of today. So, yeah, he had a lot of accomplishments throughout his life. He loved to travel to many places and work at many places, Saudi Arabia, Alaska, drove up and down the coast to a lot of small towns and ensure the telephone communications were properly set up. He visited many places in Europe with my mom. He loved sailing, being on a boat. He loved fishing. He loved to eat. He loved to sing, whistle, dabble a little bit on the piano. He loved to tell stories, talk to strangers. He loved taking photos. Not so great sometimes. Some of them were out of focus, but he just found a way to capture the moment. Time and punctuality wasn't one of his strong suits, but he got there when he got there. And also driving wasn't also his strong suits, but he did teach me how to drive, and how he was able to survive the millions of miles driving up and down and throughout the country and not get himself killed is one of life's many mysteries. But yeah, Dad meant a lot to me. And when I was little, still understanding the concept of death, I couldn't even fathom having a world without my dad. As I got older, I gradually understood that death is just all part of the human experience. I learned to accept it. We all die sometime or another. And as Dad grew older and his health deteriorated more and more these past few years and months, I knew that at the back of my mind, it was getting close, and tried to prepare myself. But it's hard to prepare you for something like this. I just wanted to hear more stories from him, or him singing some Frank Sinatra songs, or just whistle some catchy tune, or play his own version of Spanish Eyes on the piano. In some ways, it hasn't really hit me that he's gone. But to my father, I just want to say I'm forever grateful for you bringing me into this life, in this world, teaching me, guiding me to this life that I live, and to be an example of what not to do in driving. And so that I say, so long, Chief. I love you. Would you like to?
I'm not a good speaker, and I didn't prepare for this. One thing I'm going to say is that Adolfo was a pioneer among our family to come over in America in 1970, and my sister, my older sister, I'm the third in the family. My older sister came in at almost the same year. And he was the one who told me that we are lucky to be Filipinos migrating in America. Because if you have relatives in America and you don't have nothing when you arrive, your relatives will embrace you until you are settled in. One of the daughters that admitted Adolfo in this country, Mana Isai's daughter, is here. And Mana Isai was the one who told Kuya Adolfo, Kuya is what I call him, that she's welcome anytime until he's settled in. He was the one who petitioned us, Corazon, Jess, and myself, after they got settled in. And the first thing they did when they became American citizens was petition us as siblings. And I'm always grateful that he thought of the whole family, even when he was already here and settled with his own. Our growing up was impacted by poverty. He was a teenager at the age of 17, first year in college, when my dad lost his job. We lost our house, and then we had to go back to our province. Myself, Minda, my older sister, and two of my younger sisters, Cora and Tess. We went, Cora and Ida went over to Moroccan. And like I say, poverty was the one that impacted our character. As a teenager, he was with my dad, working odd jobs, mostly as waiter, part-time, to be able to survive and send us some money in the province so we could survive. There were times, before we went back to Morongan, there were times that what they would do is just cook the rice with all the water that you can put it in so that it would expand. The rice would expand, so it would be enough for the whole family to eat. So instead of eating 3 times a day, we're lucky if we have 2 meals a day. And sometimes, when there's only 1 meal a day, we will do it around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was the life that, as a teenager, that impacted him. He He was sent to the ship by my father, because my father was a sailor, to be an apprentice mess boy is what they call it. You're an apprentice, you don't earn anything, you'll be lucky if you get a tip. They depend on the tip, and they don't get paid. It's just how to learn how to serve those people that was the passengers of the ships. And luckily enough, he rose from it. As a mess boy, as a waiter, he rose up to be a purser, which is considered to be a deck officer. And then the problem with that is that we were all separated. Adolfo, myself, and Atelinda, the two of them, the older ones, was the one impacted because they were the one who had already the maturity to understand what was happening. I was only 9, 10 years old when this happened. My problem was only how to eat. And once I got my food in my stomach, that's fine with me. I don't worry about anything. And that's when I grew older that I realized that it must have been tough on my older sister, who's already gone also, and Adolfo. That's why I would, it might have been tough on us growing up, but still he was thankful. When he told me that you're lucky to be a Filipino coming to America, because we have relatives that would embrace us and embrace us for nothing, and that was in the 70s. We were lucky enough to find the jobs that we still couldn't be together that much as a family, because the jobs would require us to be in other countries, in other states. He was in New York first, and then Arizona, and I was on the bus. Before that, I was in the ship. He was also in the ship. My father was in the ship. My mother, with Adolfo, helped raise us, young ones. I guess Adolfo was always struggling. But even when he was here in America, I was also always thinking of those people in the provinces, how hard it is for them. And I got it from him. I'm sorry about that. I wish I could be as as a person who would look forward also with so much promise. He thinks that the future there's always a promise for you in the future. I'm a little bit cynical, I would say, because I would always tell him, no, it can't be that good. So there was a time, a story I would tell, that I was driving a bus from San Francisco to Banff, Canada, and I passed by Seattle. And I asked him to pick me up and have dinner with him, and then he drove me back to the hotel. We drove back to the hotel, and I told him to go around the hotel. I want to see where my bus is. So we went around, and I couldn't see my bus. I said, I don't have my bus. And Alex was sleeping in the back of the car, and he said, Dad, Uncle Steve lost his bus. It so happened that it was stole by Greyhound. And then I stole it back from them in the garage. But it woke up Alex. That's, the fun that we had as a young, I would say I'm the oldest now, out of this gone. I never realized how tough it was for him until I grew older, because he was only 16 when my father lost his job. And it took us how many years to survive the poverty. And we are lucky to be here in America, also because of Adolfo and Atiminda. It was them who pioneered our family to be here in America. And once we arrived in California, we always make it a point to drive over to Arizona and visit them. He was an example for us. And he used to tell me about having God, or having life after death. There was an incident in his life when he was a young boy, a toddler, that he almost died. You probably was told about this. He said that he was like lifted from where he was, and then the one that was lifting him was the light. And then all of a sudden, it went out. And then he was back in life again. And that's what he said, I almost died. But, that's why he said there must be life after death, because of that experience that he had. I hope that you get I hope you get the rest and the peace of the rest and peace that you deserve. More than we have in this life. I hope you get more, and we'll see you soon. I'm his only brother, and I looked up to him when I was growing up. He, like Alex said, when we went back to Manila because my father found a job, and we went back to school, my mother made it a point to force him to quit his job as a purser in the ship so he could go back to school. But because he already experienced earning some money when he was in the ship, he has to look for a job and then goes to school at the same time. And he would come home at around 9 o'clock at night from the job, wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, go to his job, and then at night go to school. And he was able to finish his electrical engineering. And he used to tell me when I came over here in America to go back to school, I said, I'm too old for that. Because I already experienced how to make money in the ship. He said, it's There's no time limit for education. You're not too old for education. And that's what I've been telling those people that are following. He was the brother that always gives us an example on how things should be. He may not do it, but he told us that's the way it should be. And I thank you for that, bro. I love you. Thank you.
Anyone else? I want to first thank everyone for being here. Some have traveled a very long way. Some have traveled time to be here, and oh, it sounds like my daughter wants to speak too. Does my daughter want to speak? Okay, come. It's my daughter Malaya. By introduction, Grandpa, my dad, helped bring her here. After I had miscarried my twins and was devastated, we prayed for Malaya, and she was born from my heart because Grandpa willed it to be so. That was pretty much the truth. So Malaya in Tagalog is Malaya, and it means freedom. And together we named her for the independent soul that she is, but also really just for the spirit of freedom. So, go ahead.
So, even though my grandpa has passed away, I am left here with a lot of really good memories that I've had with him. From hearing him sing and play the piano at my house when he came over for dinner, playing chess or shuffleboard with him, dancing with him in the kitchen, in the living room, and when I was younger, reading one of our favorite books together. It was part of a series that I used to love when I was really young it was a book series called Piggy and Gerald, and there was one specific book in that series that we used to love to read together all the time. And also memories of when he would come over and we would do karaoke nights, which was also really fun. He's the best grandpa I could ever ask for, and yeah, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here right now with all of you guys. And I'm just really grateful that I could have him in my life. And to my grandpa, I love you so much. Take care, and thank you so much for being here in my life. Really appreciate you.
I think I'm the last one. My dad was many things to many people. He owned the roles of son, brother, husband, father, godfather, grandfather, cousin, uncle, and friend. He adopted people as his very own when he felt especially close to them. Beyond these familial roles, he also took on characteristics such as patron, advisor, confidant, and compadre. There were other roles as well, and to really know my dad was to see and experience all of him. Dad had an innate desire to want to help people, to enjoy life without time constraints, money constraints, and really any constraints. You could see this innate desire when he would love what he loves unabashedly, whether that was people, food, music, dance, or a game of blackjack. To really know my dad would be to see all of that and, well, more. There was the other part of him that many may not have seen or experienced firsthand. One that didn't fear consequences, that saw the world, his world that he lived in, overflowing with milk and honey for everyone to enjoy regardless of the how, the what, or the why. Not necessarily a bad thing. But it had unintended and sometimes intended consequences. He was the dream maker in the quintessential song Moon River that became our family song. But for some close to him, he was also the heartbreaker, and reconciling the two would be a lifelong journey for me. Some can lay claim to knowing the full man, to be a recipient of all that he was, the good and the other, and still thoroughly accept and love him for who he was. My dad was born on June 18th, 1939, which made him a Gemini, the twin, if you track horoscope signs. Geminis are, by nature, unapologetically positive, passionate about life and love, and are known as having two different sides that they may display to the world. I have spent countless moments laughing and crying and dancing and simply living life with this man. The last 2.5 months, and specifically the last 2 weeks of his life, I feel a deep honor and special privilege that I got to care for him on a level I cannot even express in a group setting. It is reserved for those moments when one speaks of God and the divine, and mermaids and unicorns and big fish. It may be said it was my final gift to him for giving me life, but really it was, of course, an extraordinary gift to me that only my soul need understand. Each of us may very well have a certain version of my dad, and they will all be true. There is not one version that is good, bad, or better than the other, because that's the beauty and wonder of Gemini. They are meant to exist together like life and death, not one without the other. I have learned so much from my dad. I have so much to be grateful for because of my dad. I love him and miss him incredibly, and I will always honor him as my great protector, my greatest cheerleader, and my dearest supportive father who always pointed me in the direction of the world and towards Rainbow's End. He will live in my heart as the moon, the sun, and the stars live in our human understanding of the world, and I see him waiting around the bend, my huckleberry friend, watching over me, cheering me and all his loved ones. Cheering me and all his loved ones on, under the moon and along the river of life. To my dad, Adolfo Ballete.